Hi, my name is Christine Oludi. I welcome you to the first podcast of the FINGEN-Money Genius, where we talk about everything financial literacy. On the podcast today, I have the Executive Director, Mr. Ngonde. Mr. Ngonde, good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
And you're welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so like I said, this show talks about financial literacy. Before we go into it all, first let's understand what FINGEN is all about. Mr. Nkonde, can you just give us a brief background of what FINGEN does and how you started, the progress, the setback, just in a short, just a brief?
In a brief, thank you. We were incorporated in 2007 and obviously we wanted to see what contribution we can make in terms of developing the country. And one thing that we established would be very critical is to support efforts towards access to financial services amongst the informal sector. And our belief is that when people have access to financial services, especially those mass market like the informal sector, poverty levels will actually come down. So I think we've been around for some time, since 2007. I think there has been a lot of ups and downs, just like every institution, I think with a particular cause. But are good to mention that we have survived and we continue to survive.
Okay, so there we have it. FINGEN has been in existence for a long time. And I'll quickly go into the reason why I invited you on the podcast today.
Thank you.
I personally checked the Facebook page, and you know how social media has got impact on our today operations.
That's right.
And we've seen that we've been receiving some negative comments about FINGEN, about financial counselors.
Mm-hmm.
So would you clarify that issue so that people can understand what really transpired and why those comments on the Facebook page?
Thank you so much, and I must commend you really for picking up the initiative because I think as an institution, one thing that we really would want to do is to make sure that we provide information. I think in the absence of information, people are able to actually cook up information that may not be true. So the initiative to invite me here to provide this clarification is pretty commendable. The issue of financial counselor is actually a very topical issue, and it's unfortunate that we have taken so much time. But I think when we weigh the two, it's important to have a scenario that you take your time to prepare than provide something that is not well prepared, because at some point it will fall. We of course didn't know much. I think our expectations were not right, so we quickly had to pull back so that we understand how best we can do it better. We had to officially announce that we are putting up, we are suspending activities across the country to enable us redo what we had put up. So the negative feedback from financial counselors across the country is justifiable, especially that there wasn't sufficient information for us to provide. But I think having you and the rest of the team that we follow through and provide that information is actually a good thing. I think the topical issue was that when we launched out to do recruitment, we had all these things planned out, and we thought it is going to go our way. But I think in the process, topical issues actually showed up. Number one, distributing the IBCC from Lusaka to Kaputa I think you could have seen comments as far as Kaputa, and moreover, as people are also commenting, I also follow.
Yeah.
I'm part of that group, so I check, and you really want to say, well, this is justifiable. I think we know that we have places as far as Sioma,
Yes.
Monze, Kabompo, Shangombo. So when we now, I think we didn't see this coming. I think in us distributing the IPCC as far as Kabompo, as far as those far-flung areas, we saw that it was becoming pretty costly. And we're going to have a very, very challenging exercise in sustaining, monthly distribution of these books across the country. So when this red flag showed up, we felt, I think we need to rethink how we need to do this. The other issue that we had actually seen was that I think of the few trainings that we had done in most of the districts or constituencies, we saw that most of them were not sufficiently trained. Okay. And there were quite a lot of gaps in between. So you have very different information from Lusaka and what the district financial councillor is saying in Kabombo. And now we were wondering what happened. So this actually showed up that if again we continue, we don't have the backup to find the method of how we can communicate effectively, we are going to have a serious problem. So can we find the method of how we need to make sure that we create contingencies for these problems that are shooting up. So I think one thing that you appreciate about FINGEN is that we are a very collaborative institution. We believe that I think the success of an institution is in having stakeholders participate. So we engaged quite a broader number of stakeholders. One of them was the National Assembly, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Local Government, and the Ministry of Youth. And we, in fact, one time the matter showed up at Parliament. The Ministry of Youth came in, and because of the engagements that we had with them, they were able to actually defend that we are not scammers, because obviously a scammer cannot scam together with government. We are a very sacrosanct institution. So we felt these institutions must be informed that we are suspending activities. So we wrote to all of them and informed them. And of course, National Assembly had given hints that we needed to find a method of how we can clean up those. And I think they seconded that we actually halt activities until we clean up. I think the other matter also, I think that I've seen also trending on social media, especially on our page, is the matter of certificates. Yes. Again, we saw that after the training has been concluded, we are still coming back to the same problem of having a certificate move from Lusaka to those. We tried, I think I know.
Should we receive the certificates?
A few of them. I think I know of this Kaputa. Okay. We actually sent, that's about 1,000 plus kilometers. We sent the certificates there. I personally went to Kaputa. So we had made these strides, and we saw that again we are having a problem here. This is not going to be sustainable. Can we find a better way? So this is basically what, and a number of internal issues. I think you should be aware that FINGEN is not funded by USAID. Because if it were, by now this place would have been closed. But I think the initiative and the wisdom of FINGEN is that we want to keep FINGEN self-sustained. So resources are generated in those little, I think the 200 kwacha, the topical 200 kwacha, I've seen it on. The idea was that in an event like it has happened, Trump has really just shut down the whole USAID. I think because of that, FINGEN is still here. So it's good to be self-sustaining. I think in whatever you do, try and create a business model that enable you to operate without depending on another. So we saw that I think with this, let's find a method of making sure that we create something self-sustaining, and we find a method of making sure that everything should go smoothly. So their concerns are justifiable, but I want to really categorically state here that FINGEN hasn't died. We have done quite a lot in this space of our silence, quite a lot, to ensure that when we relaunch, having learned lessons, why we are able to actually send the IBCC across the country, the certificate. So we really put this information from as it came, and we started dissecting it and created solutions for each. So I think as we go, I will deal with the solutions that we have done and how we are going to move forward.
Okay, so there you have it. FINGEN still exists. But the question is, we're still having those questions like, where's my 200? That's it, not commenting. That's my number, 0972. Then they're like, I need my 200 back.
Yeah.
So FINGEN still exists, but the 200, where is it? Can we find out what the solution is about this?
The 200 kwacha.
Yes.
Well, while we appreciate that we haven't, we haven't delivered, I think, for those that paid the 200 kwacha. Allow me to stress the point here that we have, 200 kwachas were not given to Mr. Nkonde as he went to Kaputa, collected the 200 kwacha, pocketed it. I think the wisdom in trying to be transparent, in trying to, adhere to government procedures as we get money from the people, is that you have to have a bank account. So we have very, very established records of who paid the 200 kwacha. And we know, of course, that we knew from the beginning that the 200 kwacha, looking at the number of things that this 200 kwacha was actually, requested for, we knew that it would be very difficult at some point for this 200 kwacha to be refunded. So we categorically said the 200 kwacha is non-refundable. So the non-refundable does not mean that we wanted
to give them certificate. So the 200 kwacha catered for the certificate.
It caters for certificate, a bit of training, I think full-fledged training, so to speak, and a number of technical issues that we need to deliver to financial counselor to ensure that we have a well-trained financial counselor. So for those that are actually requesting for the refunds, I'm afraid we can't. But I think I've seen, it should be Chadiza. We did something in Chadiza recently. And we saw that those guys that were picked, because Chadiza was the last one that we did quite recently, I think in 2024. So when we were doing, we saw that some of these guys had gone. So for us to make sure that the 200 kwacha is used, we had allowed that if, for instance, you had paid the 200 kwacha and then probably with the goodwill of the government, you are now probably a teacher or something came up, you left. We were requesting that find a person that can actually replace you, and then you sort yourselves out. Okay. So the new person who is supposed to pick up, if they have a 200 kwacha, they pay you, then you tell us that this person has paid, so that we carry through. So really, the refund is where we are saying it's a bit tricky. It's like we just collected the 200 kwacha, pocketed it. Once we use it for some time, we'll come and refund you. Okay. No, we are a sacrosanct institution. We know what we are doing. Of course, we had these challenges, which I think, and I'm sure even USA does also have the challenge. That's why we are closed. But we are not going to close. We are here. Okay. And when there are challenges, we just put back, retrace, and sort out. Because I think the beauty about, I always sing this. Whenever I find people, FINGEN is going to be there for as long as there is a marketeer, for as long as they are farmers, because these are the people that we exist for, to provide financial education to them. So we are here. For those guys that need the refund, let them just look for another person when we are going back. Let them look for a person who was not registered at a particular time, and they will give them the 200 kwacha, but will co-opt that person so that we carry through.
Okay. Yeah. So in short, you're saying the certificates are available to start with.
Yes.
But what has been the challenge is the distances to go to these places and the internal challenges that the company has been having.
Exactly.
So is there an estimated time that you have as a company to maybe deliver these things to them and just have a good relation with whoever was trained in this matter, so that going forward we should stop receiving these negative comments?
Excellent. Definitely for 2025, because what we normally do is that as you enter into a year, you actually do planning. But again, planning has its own, even when we were doing the 200 kwacha, we also planned. But except there were these unforeseen that really created a lot of problems. So I should only say that for the issuance of the certificates for financial counselors and district financial counselors, we are saying that I think between the first quarter we were really aiming to ensure that the issues of the certificates are resolved within the first quarter, but we are already in the second quarter. So we are working to ensure that between the first and the second quarter, all the issues of certificates are actually distributed. Suffice to mention that I think with the gaps that we also saw and the new version of the training manual, which we actually piloted in Chadiza, we should be able to actually provide the certificates. And then one thing that we want to do to those that we are going to be giving the certificates is that we will request that they be, what's the best system, reoriented. Okay. Because there are quite a lot of changes that we have done. It's not going to be reorientation, will not mean that
you have to pay
no. For those that we have, we will actually carry them through. But we want them to be reoriented so that when we are certifying that this person has been trained, we will be actually saying yes, indeed, because there are new issues that we have included in the new training manual.
Okay, so
definitely within by the end of the second quarter, we should be able to resolve this.
Okay, any clarification about employment?
Look, the issue of employment is a very critical issue for FINGEN. And the concept of financial counselor, as the case could be, and for your own information, I've interacted with a number of stakeholders. I think we've spoken to the Minister of SME, we've spoken to Zambia Credit Scheme Guarantee, and a number of banks. I think what makes FINGEN tick is the concept of financial counselor, the model that we use. And I think when you ask from me, I will tell you that the financial counselor model is probably what we would call a very brilliant way of empowering the informal sector to employ its own children. And when you train a financial counselor in the model, in the way we train them, except yes, we know they can go and find employment elsewhere. But when you ask FINGEN, we want that financial counselor once they finish the training. And then you should appreciate that the financial counselor training is a peculiar thing that is very specific to FINGEN. And when you look at the numbers that we need for these financial counselors, you will appreciate that we will still be needing more. We use a ratio, one financial counselor to 50 marketeers or clients. So when you look at the number of marketeers and smallholder farmers, I think when you use Zanamaka, you use the report by Bank of Zambia, you will be sitting with about 1 point something. When you punch in 50 into 1 point something, you should be looking for about 60,000 plus marketeers, so to speak. No, financial counselors. So now, with that, it means we'll be looking for these financial counselors. So assurance that every financial counselor that we need, that we have trained, will be needed, is actually 100%. We would definitely go back and pick every financial counselor, because you will appreciate that I think in this country, there are very few people that will pay 200 kwacha and get the training like we provide. So meaning that the 200 kwacha is from other sources that we put is actually added up. So meaning that we have put more money on the 200 kwacha for us to train. So now we train this person and then we just abandon them. No, it's not possible because we are not that wasteful. So definitely every financial counselor that has been trained will be employed by FINGEN. So we just basically asking for. When you look at the number of farmers, you look at the number of marketeers, there are so many that definitely the financial counselor that we train are going to be picked up and be employed so that we can provide the services to marketeers. So be assured, financial counselors, we are definitely coming. If you underwent the training and there is nothing that you are doing, we will definitely pick up and engage. In fact, when you look at 2025 and 2035, there are more than this number of the ones that we have trained. So we are still training more. And I mean, you trained one financial counselor. You need them to be employed. Would you be looking for another financial counselor when there is already a trained one? So you go back to the ones that you trained. You spend money on them.
No, okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for that clarification.
You're welcome.
So do we have something that FINGEN is planning for the year that people should look out for aside the financial counselor issue that we needed to clarify? Because I've seen that it's been having the negative impact with those people that are new on the page. And looking at Facebook, it has a lot of followers. So immediately one notices that there's
you are scammers.
a red flag on the page.
Exactly.
Definitely they'll go. It's, you know how as human beings are made of. Even when you've seen a comment that says, wow, I benefited from FINGEN, I'll still go for that negative thing, saying, okay, but why is this person saying this? And there's a way of inboxing someone, and we don't know what really people explain in inboxes. So I thought it was wise that we have you as the executive director of the company so that you can clarify this issue. Then aside that, from the negative, we can still have the positive so that people can be hopeful and say, okay, we are going to benefit this from FINGEN.
Definitely. Well, I think when you look at the silence, as I said, there's so much that has actually happened, and that as we advance, I think one of them is actually this podcast. And I'm aware that we're going to be doing this weekly to address some of these issues that are popping up, which we haven't done. Which we were not doing even when the financial counselors were actually being recruited. So number one is that this is going to be a permanent feature around FINGEN activities to ensure that we respond to some of these. I must mention that what we're going to see going forward is that FINGEN is, I don't know if I would call it being rebranded, but we're trying to be dynamic and respond to the trending, technology advancements. As I said, that we picked the issues that came and told ourselves, how do we respond to this? And we told ourselves, say, look, the problems that we're facing are opportunities. One of the things that we had actually begun was to find, okay, we are having a serious problem taking IBCC to Kaput. What will be the solution? We realized there is a digital space. Honestly speaking, when I was doing the thinking around digitalizing the IBCC, I actually didn't see the bigger picture of what we have gotten to. One of it was just to get the IBCC, digitalize it, let it go digital, so that the people in Kaputa can, just have, without us distributing. Probably just data which everyone, and because of their WhatsApp, they definitely. So now, since this is business related, they will see the value of making sure that the IBCC is installed. And boom, I think in the process of digitalizing the IBCC, we saw quite a lot of opportunities. I will tell you one thing that we saw. Right now, I think I had gone, as I mentioned, I had gone to Kaputa. There is actually salt in Kaputa. Most of the people in Kaputa come to Lusaka to order. And when we were digitalizing the IBCC, we saw, there's actually an opportunity here. You can find a method of allowing people in Kaputa, because until I went to Kaputa, that's when I knew that actually there's salt in Kaputa. So meaning that the people in Kaputa, I actually collected, I bought a medal and I came with it to Lusaka. It's actually just good sort. The people use their technology to actually make that sort. But very few, moreover, Kaputa is very far. Very few go to Kaputa to go and appreciate. So can we give a platform to the people in Kaputa to promote their products, especially that they are our clients, especially that we are dealing with them. These people from Kaputa come to Lusaka to order groceries and stuff to put in their shops. There is actually a tour that we did a sample in Chadiza. We actually learned that, I think from the data that we got, they either come to Lusaka or go to Malawi. They spend about 750. That is without transport and all this, for them to just actually do the orders. And we felt we have financial counselors in Kaputa, we have financial counselors in Lusaka, we have financial counselors in Chadiza. Why don't we create trade? Because these are trusted children that are coming from the community. And we told ourselves, well, I think there is an opportunity here. So one thing that the financial counselors must actually be looking forward to is actually what we are terming FINGEN trade, where people from Kaputa can order from Lusaka digitally, and financial counselors in Lusaka can collaborate with their financial counselors in Kaputa for this trade to actually happen, so that you reduce time and cost of the person traveling from Kaputa to Lusaka. This actually happened digitally. So there is actually FINGEN trade that is part of the digitalized IBCC. So now in doing this, we have now made digital IBCC to include FINGEN trade, and generally to come and put up what we are calling FINGEN app. FINGEN app has more than what we were doing just beyond the IBCC being digitalized. So there is a whole lot of package that we have put in the FINGEN trade that is actually going to be pretty interesting. I think one thing, even before we talk about the FINGEN app, we saw that there is an opportunity here to actually find the method of how we balance trade, financial activities, and the popular games.
Yes.
So we have now gone further to find the method. If you are not trading, if you are not calculating your mathematics, enjoy some game.
So that game, when one plays, they'll win something?
They win something. That's actually the most exciting. And even now, people, queue up in Bola Bet stations, and I think when you go to the market, except that I didn't sit in Kaputa, but when you go to city market, you find men with some papers trying to tick. We have transformed that to be pretty interesting and made it, exciting, so that people, as they do, of course, we are not using football because now it would be amazing for us to move from financials to football. But the same principles that apply in people trying to bet and play the game around Manchester, with this time around we are combining the knowledge about financial services and the concept of the game called betting. So what we have done is that as you bet, the same way people know so much about Manchester without being to Manchester, let them know so much about stocks called shares in Zanaco, shares in all these companies. So that I think instead of you knowing so much about Zanaco, about Manchester, I think know about something that is going to add value to you. So we have all these things put together. I'm aware that we went actually public with the FINGEN game, which is actually going to be, this is a feature that is going to sit in the FINGEN app, and there will be quite a number of things that are going to sit in the FINGEN app that are going to be pretty interesting. Before I actually lose my thought, one of the things that we have also done is to broaden the employment within the informal sector. Apart from the so-called financial counselors that we have put up, we have added up another person, because we cannot have a person who is doing financial counseling to also come and do trade. So there is a guy that we have incorporated within the financial counseling. Now these guys, we are calling them trade counselors, because financial counselors are trained to provide activities or training activities to marketeers. Now, who these people that we are onboarding that are going to be part of the FINGEN trade, who are them? We are going to call them trade counselors. So we have broadened the aspect of financial counseling and trading counseling, so that we can approach this holistically. So we're going to address the issues of financial counselor and employment across the country. So there are so much that is we are asking people to look forward to as we get into the, and I think much of this is going to be resolved within this second quarter.
Okay, so the trade counselors will help people from the market. So you said you are more focused with the informal sector, so which is the marketeers will be more informed about. I feel it's not everybody who understands this topics. Okay, welcome back. So my question was for the trade counselors. Are these people going to be informed enough to make our mothers in the market to understand the importance of investing in buying these shares?
Actually, the trade counselors, of course, we on the part of stock. This is going to also apply to financial counselors as well. Moreover, the training manual that we have done also speaks to issues to do with investing. So it's also another topic within the training manual and the lessons that we provide to these our marketeers. So definitely are going to be equipped, but broad trade counselors are going to be pretty tuned to trading companies, so to speak. Our desire is that we want to create a system that allows, what FINGEN does is what actually goes on. I think from our activities, we learned that, when you are dealing with marketeers, don't go with some fancy stuff, just to do what they do, but create a bit of improvement. Okay. Right now, a person in Soweto moves from Soweto to Kamwala to order. So this is what goes around every day. So we're thinking, okay, how do we improve on this thing? So we tell ourselves, a person moves from Kamwala, from Soweto to Kamwala to order. So there is her stand, and there is a person, probably, we used one term, Chibubu wholesalers. Okay, there is a wholesaler in Kamwala called the Chigubu. And this Chigubu, provides this stuff to this. So we thought, can we find a method of, not reinventing the wheel, use the same system? And all we are doing is that at Chigubu, instead of the same way this marketeer has a financial counselor, let Chigubu also have a trade counselor at Kamwala, so that when the FINGEN app is facilitating these transactions, when now it is time for Amai Band to move to Kamwala, we are considering that cost, because either she has to close the shop to go to Kamwala, and we are saying this is unproductive. With a financial counselor at Soweto and a trade counselor at Kamwala, this transaction can happen seamless. The Amai Band at Soweto can just ask the financial counselor, if they don't know, which chances are that they don't, how to do this thing digitally. So the financial counselor will help to do the orders in Chigubu wholesaler. And then on the other side, the trade counselor will receive the same notification over the shop. So now this relationship, instead of this my banda to go to Chigubu, these are going to happen. The financial counselor and the trade counselor, their counterparts, are going to coordinate this, and the transaction is going. All these things are going to be happening on the app. So from FINGEN's point of view, the trade counselor will be handling Chigubu wholesalers, Saro, nitrogen chemicals of that. In those locations, we want to put people that are going to help create these trades as they happen online. Number one, we create employment. Two, we enable that even Mama Sikoro from Mongo, even if they do not know how to do orders online, there is a financial counselor who is going to initiate that transaction, and there will be a trade counselor at Saro to order the flour and these are going to happen. Once the transaction are done, we are putting in the courier in between. Even in our absence, they still have to move the plow from Saro to, maybe intercity to move this thing. We are actually picking up all these in the same way to ensure that all these things, and I think what is more exciting is that from the FINGEN, all these activities that happen when they are happening, tell you what, there are no dots of data that shows that she ordered in the absence of the digital space. But now with the FINGEN app, all these dots of data are going to be put within a space so that when the financial institution is looking at Mama Sikoro to see whether she's worthy to get access to the loan or get a loan, they are just going to use that data and to prove that because she has been doing this transaction, she's credit worthy. And we are going to profile that, and that's what we are doing. So we are really interested in making sure that this thing that happened naturally, let's sneak in a digital to get all this data and ensure that that data begins to work for this mama. Yeah. So the trade councillors are on the companies that provide products to the marketeer. The financial councillor is the usual financial councillor who provide financial counseling to marketeers and smallholder farmers. Our clients, so to speak.
Okay,
yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing the app in full function. So can we know what percent the app is at, so that people can move forward? Maybe they can start downloading. Is it on the Play Store?
Yeah.
Or are we still working on the app and people can still wait?
Well, thank you for that question, Christine. The FINGEN app is already actually in the Play Store, but in the back end, we, of course, tying up all these, and it doesn't look like child's play. There's so many dots of connection, the profile of the trader, the profile of the marketeer, that data, and so there is actually so much. But the good news, even right now, go to Play Store, type FINGEN app, it will come, you can download and follow these updates. We want to see these updates and let people there, give us feedback. We are an institution that really cherish. In fact, for your own information, at one point I was also pissed off. I said, "Can you close this Facebook?" But I think the principles of FINGEN are that I like my president. When you go to his page, there are a lot of foolish stuff that people put up in the name of criticism, but I think they go overboard. And, I tell myself, can you be a president? I think with this kind of people, but tell you what, I think there is also joy in getting, I think you need to bisect or, scatter this and see some good part. Yeah, because they are, of course, I think as you said, I read someone who said, no, I actually got a lot of support through FINGEN. I said, if possible, can we?
Go ahead.
Exactly. So we have allowed people to, at some point we said, just shut off. No, I think that feedback, bad as it may sound, is important. So let people download the app and let them give us feedback. Play Store, I think you guys that are doing this, please put a link there, let people download and let's see, let's get more feedback. But the app is done, is actually on Play Store, but I think in terms of percentage from our minds, I think we should be sitting 60-70%. And I think within this month, we should be able to get it to 100. I think the team is all set up.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, there you have it. Thank you very much, Mr. Nkonde, for making a time to be on the podcast.
Thank you.
Remember, financial literacy is very important. You need to be financially stable to have the financial freedom.
Yeah.
You want to learn more? Stay glued to this podcast so that we can share our knowledge and you can share yours. This is a learning podcast. You feel when we are lagging behind, please feel free to comment and give us feedback. This was Christine Obudi with the Executive Director of FINGEN-Money. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.